Hi, and welcome to episode 38 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, August 31st, 2018. This is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, a hand dyer of yarn, and a sewist. Thank you so much for joining me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast on Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will be able to find the show notes for this episode, as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads. So I would really love it if you would join that Ravelry group. You can also get in contact with me through my email, which is noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I am currently hosting a knit-along with the lovely ladies of the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast. It is called the Be My Neighbor Cal. This cal is in honor of Mr. Rogers, who often wore cardigans that his mother knitted for him. And so this is for you to make any cardigan of any size, either knitted or crocheted, or you can also enter any gift or charity projects that you would like to make. This knit-along is going to be open at least until the end of the year, and I have a finished object thread as well as a chatter thread in the Ravelry group, and also you can certainly hop on over to the Meanwhile at the Castle Ravelry group and enter their threads as well. I am going to be drawing a prize for that knit-along every month. So this is the last podcast that I will record before I draw the first prize for this knit-along. The next time I record a podcast, I will announce the first winner of that knit-along. So please do go ahead and enter your finished objects into the finished objects thread if you do have anything to enter. I would love to have you join us. I have a few other announcements that I'd like to make this week. The first is that this is episode 38, as I mentioned, and this is the last time that I will be coming to you all as a 38-year-old. So a week from today, I have my 39th birthday, and if everything goes according to plan, Lord willing, I will be recording my 39th episode on my 39th birthday. So I thought that was awfully neat that that happened to align in the right way. And so I wanted to do something to celebrate that. And I received a very unexpected and special gift from Kay Bead. I imagine her last name is Bead anyway. She is from the Bead Sisters podcast, which is an audio podcast. And she had hosted she called it the Pay It Forward project that she was doing. She had received some fabric from a lady that she was very grateful for, and she decided to make a bunch of project bags and then open up a thread in their Ravelry group to have people nominate different podcasters that have been an encouragement to them in some way. And I was nominated. I was so shocked, and I won. So Kay had contacted me and let me know that I had been nominated, and I was just so incredibly grateful for that nomination. And I just want to thank you again, Kim, for nominating me for that. I'm just so honored and humbled to have received this prize. It's just so generous and really touched my heart. So this is the beautiful project bag that Kay made out of this cute chicken fabric. It has a zip here. It's so beautifully made. It has a box bottom. And inside is this adorable, I think they're goats, yeah. There's this goat material on the inside. Isn't that cute? Oh, it's so cute. I love it. It's got a cute little polka dot handle here. So I was just so thrilled to receive this. Thank you so much, Kay, and again, Kim, for nominating me. And so on the same lines as this, for my birthday celebration, I want to pay it forward as well. So I am going to be opening up a thread in the Ravelry group for you all to enter a giveaway prize for my birthday. So I'm going to be giving away some prizes on the next episode in celebration of my birthday. So if you would like to enter, you can certainly hop on over to that Ravelry thread. And if you would just answer the thread, which is to share something that was done to you as an act of kindness or an encouraging thing that happened to you recently, whether it be in the last week or as recent as you can remember or recollect, an encouraging thing that happened to you, an act of kindness that either you shared towards someone or that you received. If you could share that, and then you would be entered to win a prize or a birthday present from me to you on the next episode. So I would really love for you to join in on that giveaway and help me celebrate my birthday. Then the other thing that I would like to announce today is that I would like to start organizing an Advent calendar mini swap that I would love for any of you to join in if you would be interested. So if you are familiar with other indie dyers, you may very well know that so many of them do Advent calendars that are so much fun to receive. I am not doing an Advent calendar for my shop, but I am really interested in doing an Advent calendar. I have never done one before, and so I thought it would be fun just to do a swap. It's a lot less commitment for me as an indie dyer. I know I've heard and I can only imagine how much work goes into preparing, however many Advent calendars each indie dyer decides to sell. But I think that I would really rather just do one Advent calendar for someone else, and I thought maybe other people would like to join in on that. So the idea that I have is to also open up another Ravelry thread for this Advent calendar mini swap, and it would be for you to provide 10-gram mini skeins, 24 of them, to lead up from the first day of December until Christmas Eve, and then also to provide a 100-gram skein for the actual Christmas Day present. Also, along with each 10-gram mini skein, I would like you all to provide a small little trinket, whether it be a tiny little progress keeper or a bag of tea, a little candy, some little tiny special treat to go along with each of the 24 days leading up to Christmas as well. And then to package them into, individual numbered bags so that the recipient knows which bag to open each day. And I will then, whoever would like to sign up for this Advent swap, I will then pair you up so that I'm going to kind of do it like I've heard that FiberShare does, where you will send your mini skeins to one person, but you won't get back from that same person. You will receive from a different person. So everybody will have two different people that they are partnered up with one that they will be sending to and one that they will be receiving from. So if any of you would be interested in joining this Advent mini swap, I would absolutely love to have you join. Please just head on over to the Ravelry group again and sign up by just entering your name and letting me know that you would like to sign up. You don't have to give your personal information on the thread, of course. I will then contact you through direct message to organize your, get all the information that I would need for your address and everything like that. There are people overseas. I am in the United States, so if there are any people that are in Canada or overseas, if you can just indicate whether you would like to ship internationally or not. I can try to arrange for that to, work out where you wouldn't have to ship internationally if you don't want to, but depending on how many people sign up, of course, it will just depend upon that. I'll do the best that I can, but if you do sign up, please be prepared that you may need to ship internationally. If we only have a handful of people that sign up, I won't have as much flexibility to arrange which package goes where, so to keep that in mind. But again, I would just absolutely love it if other people would be interested in joining me for this Advent mini swap, so please head over to the Ravelry group if you are interested. So today is super dark. It is raining outside and very cloudy, so that is why the lighting in here looks a lot different than usual. But I absolutely love it. I think it's wonderful. I don't mind a rainy day at all. I don't have any finished objects to share with you this week, so I will just go right into my works in progress. The first work in progress that I have to share with you is in my Tanny Casey project bag. And I haven't made a ton of progress on this week, but I have made a little bit of progress. This is my Birdie Fair Isle cardigan, which is a beautiful pattern by Hannah Fettig. And this is one of my entries, or my, not entries, but my contributions to the Be My Neighbor Cal, because it is a cardigan. Last time I recorded a podcast, I was right here where this progress keeper, which is from Amy of Little Tailoress, is marking. And I thought that the little bird cage was, well, kind of fitting for the swallows, even though swallows are never caged, I don't think. But anyway, it kind of goes along with the theme. So anyway, that is where I was last time I recorded, and I was able to finish the yoked color work section. And I'm so pleased with how it's looking. I just love it. I love it so much. I'm so happy with it. So I have blocked from the swallows up, so you might be able to tell that the stitches look a little bit neater from here up, and then this color work down here has not yet been blocked. So you can kind of tell that it's a little bit, it's just not as neat. But it should block out as well as the top section did, so I'm not concerned about that. This is made using worsted weight. I am using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in 4 different colors. The main color I'm using is Mink Heather. It is worsted weight, 100% Peruvian Highland wool. Oh, I bet I don't have all the other colors because I'm done using them. I don't think I have them handy. Well, I'll just go through here. The blue is called Wonderland Heather. The dark charcoal is called Onyx Heather, and the gold is called Wheat. I am using Chalgu needles. I always use Chalgu needles for all of my projects, although the next project I'll show you, and I have not mentioned before, but I'm using different needles, which is odd for me. But anyway, these I am using US size 8 5mm needles, and I am getting a gauge of what? I forget, but I think I have it noted here. I'm getting a gauge of 20.5 stitches to 4 inches. For the color work, I went up to a US size 10 to get a more even gauge, and that worked out really well for me. So US 10s are 6mm. And let's see, I only have a few more rows. Let's see, where am I? I think I only have 2 or 3 more rows left before I split for the sleeve. So I'm super excited to get to that point and be able to try it on again. I am making this a little bit different than what the pattern calls for. It calls for you to work this flat, but I have decided to work it in the round. And so you can see here that I have added 5 extra stitches to the front center where I will then be sticking the cardigan. And I've also changed the color work a little bit. The pattern calls for there to only be 8 swallows around the yoke, and I have added 2 extra swallows, so I have a total of 10 swallows. And then in the center of the back there's supposed to be a heart, but I've eliminated that and just added the 2 extra swallows, and then rearranged how they were placed, how they were spaced out, so that I could fit them around the yoke evenly. I forgot to mention last week when I recorded, I had started saying that I had changed my method of doing intarsia, as I had originally done this. This is the second time that I've knitted the yoke. The first time that I did it, my tension was off terribly, and so I had to rip it back and start over again. The first time I did the yoke, I made the swallow pattern using intarsia, and since I put more swallows into the yoke this time, and then there wasn't as much space between each swallow, and because intarsia was just really difficult to get the tension even, I decided just to do regular stranded color work for the swallows this time. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. I'll show you my floats, because that's always kind of interesting to see. I think they're okay. I haven't done a ton of color work. I think this is my 4th project of color work. And yeah, it's okay, I think. I tried to catch the floats when they were long in between here as often as I could. About every 5 or 6 stitches I tried to catch the strands if they were going longer than that. There were, I think, 4 different rows where I had to hold 3 different colors of yarn together at the same time, and that was the first time I'd ever done that before. I ended up using a little tool, which I'll grab, hang on a second. So I ended up using this little tool that I picked up from Knit Picks, super cheap, it was only a few dollars, but as I was working the 3 strands, I decided to go ahead and use this just to keep them separate. So this little latch goes up, and I was able to fit the 3 different strands through those sections to keep them a little less, a little more organized, so that they wouldn't get tangled up as easily. So that worked really well. I'm really happy with how that worked, and it really helped me to keep the yarn managed while I did those few rows. It was more tricky, of course, but doable. I was able to get through, and it was only 4 rows total, so it wasn't terrible. So once I separate for the sleeves, it should be just a lot of stockinette until I get to the length that I'm supposed to, I believe. I haven't really read ahead in the pattern yet to see if there's anything else I need to do, but I imagine it's going to be pretty easy going from here on out. And I'm very excited to work on this some more, but it has taken a little bit of a backseat for the time being. The other project that has taken a backseat is my V-back tee. I have only worked about 3 rows on it since last time I recorded a podcast, and so I'm not going to share that with you this week because I just haven't made any progress on it. And anyway, there's no sense in showing it to you. There's just nothing that not enough progress made on it, so I'll definitely show that to you as soon as I do make some progress on it. But my next work in progress is in a me-made project bag that I made using the Easy Bag tutorial on YouTube by Erica Arndt. Easy drawstring bag tutorial. And anyway, and here is another one of the At Your Service knit cloths that I am making. I'm trying to make several of these for Christmas presents, and I haven't ever shown the actual picture, I don't think, but since I don't have one finished to share with you this week, this is what the photo looks like on the pattern. This is a free pattern on Ravelry by by Yarnspirations, and I highly recommend it because they work up really nicely, and I think they'll make great Christmas presents. And several of you have commented that you are going to try making this pattern as well, so that's super exciting. I hope that all of you enjoy making them as much as I have. I've already made 3, so this is the 4th one that I am working on. I'm hoping to make at least 12 for Christmas presents. And here is where I'm at so far on this one. They use worsted weight, so I am using up a lot of my cotton stash. And I believe that this is peaches and cream yarn, but I don't have any idea what the color is. I don't have the tag for it anymore, but it's kind of this is kind of showing, since the color is so off today with the rainy day that we have out here, it's showing up a little bit almost purple or periwinkle on my what I can see, and it's more blue in actuality. But anyway, you get the idea. And you can see here that I'm not using my regular ChowGoo needles, surprisingly. I have found that these wooden needles are working so much better with cotton yarn. And these are Knitter's Pride needles. They are US 6 4mm needles, and I am getting a gauge of 16 stitches to 4 inches for this pattern, which is looser than what the pattern calls for. So instead of casting on 49 stitches, I am only casting on 45 stitches to get a better measurement for what the kitchen towel is supposed to look like. So anyway, you just cast on there and work a few rows of garter stitch, and the body of the towel is made in seed stitch. So this is my on-the-go project. This is what I take with me in the van if we're going anywhere, or if I have an appointment or anything like that. I take this with me because it's mindless and easy to work up. So that's going well, and I believe the top, I'm planning on using this color for the top section. I don't know if you could tell in the picture that yeah, you can kind of, the top section is in a contrasting color. So I'm planning on using this on the top, which I think will look pretty. This is also Peaches and Cream, and this is in the Seaside Stripes colorway. So that is going very well. And the last work in progress that I have to share with you is what has gotten the majority of my time since I last recorded a podcast, and it is the 2018 collaboration Afghan. So if you have not tuned in before, I have collaborated with 48 other indie yarn dyers, and I have asked them to knit or crochet a 7-inch square that they sent to me, and I have completed piecing all of them together, and I am currently working on the border. The completed Afghan will then be mailed to Lisa, who heads up Indie Untangled, and it will be on display at the Indie Untangled Trunk Show in October, and one of the attendees of the Trunk Show will have the opportunity to win the Afghan. So that is super exciting, and I am thoroughly enjoying working on this project. So before I show you my progress on the actual Afghan, I want to share with you it's thundering outside. I don't know, you probably can't hear that, but it sounds so cool. Anyway, I wanted to share with you this crazy thing that I worked up since I last podcasted, and this is my sampler for trying out different borders for the Afghan. So the yarn dyer behind Whole Knit and Caboodle actually sent me 3 different squares, and so I used one of the extra squares that I didn't use in the Afghan to practice the border that I wanted to try on this Afghan. So I know it looks crazy, but it was really helpful to be able to use this piece to just try out different stitches. I started right here, and I cast on, well, I don't remember how many I cast on to start with. I bet it was about 16 or so, 18, somewhere around in there. And I tried just using a garter stitch on either side of the cable. And for all of these different, you can see here that I changed the cable several times. And I used my Nora Gaughan's knitted cable source book, which is chock full of different cable patterns. I wonder if it says how many. More than 150 it says. So I used, you can see all my little tags here of different patterns that I was trying out. And anyway, I used this resource to try out all of these different patterns. So I started with this one here, which I wrote them down. This first one I tried is just called the Basic Flat Braid, which is an 8-stitch cable. And anyway, I did not like how, I didn't think that the cable was able to stand out enough with only a garter on either side of it. So I changed to just doing purl stitches on either side of the cable because that helps the cable to stand out better. And then I did I added on 4 extra stitches here to do a garter ridge along the edge, but then I decided that that looked really sloppy. So meanwhile, I changed to a different cable, and the second cable is the Basic 4-step, which is a 10-stitch cable pattern. And then I decided to start working an I-cord along the edge, which I was so much happier with how that looked. And so then I just started trying out tons of different cable patterns to try to get the stitch that I thought looked the best. This next one, I love how it looks, but it was quite intricate. It's called the Double O, and it's a 12-stitch cable pattern. And then the corner, I bought the pattern for the Stornoway, I think it's called, which I'll put the details down below, for a different Afghan that I had heard Melissa of Knitting the Stash podcast talk about on one of her early episodes. She had made that Afghan, and I knew that she had done a knitted on border for that Afghan. So I wasn't sure how to do the corner for this Afghan, and so I bought that pattern and kind of followed the same idea of what that one does. It's a much thicker border, I believe, for that Afghan, but I was able to get the general idea of how they constructed the corner for that Afghan and able to use the same idea or technique for this, and I really like how that worked up. So anyway, then I switched cable stitches again. This one is called the Contrast Horseshoe. It's a 13 stitch cable pattern. I switched again for a real short time. I decided I didn't like that one pretty quickly. This one's called the Horseshoe Mix. It's also a 13 stitch pattern. This one I absolutely love, this cable pattern. It's called the X-Knot Evolution. It's just one section. That X-Knot Evolution pattern in the knitted source book actually has 3 different sections, and this is only one of the 3 sections. I decided not to use this for the Afghan because it was a little bit too busy, I thought, but it really is a very beautiful pattern. Then I started this cable, which is called the Expanded 4x4, which is an 11 stitch pattern. I wanted to try something that was more simple. And then this is the one that I finally decided on in the end. This is called the 2x2 over 2x2. It is a 12 stitch pattern, and I did try condensing it a bit so that the space between the cables was less, and that's what I did up here. But I ended up liking the elongated one, or the original one, the best anyway. I wanted to try one more braided cable pattern that I just kind of did myself. It was basically the same as this one, the first one I tried, but instead of only 8 stitches, I just made it into a 12 stitch pattern. But again, in the end, I decided that I just held it up and tried to decide what I thought would look the best. And I decided that this one was the simplest, and it just showed up the best. I thought the other ones kind of got lost because, you know, the Afghan itself is busy because every square is different color, different pattern. So I wanted something that I definitely wanted to do a cable because I really like the symbolism that the cable has of intertwining, and I love how this collaboration Afghan has intertwined all of these different indie yarn dyers, and so I really like the symbolism of using a cable. And of course I just love how cables look. I think they're gorgeous. So I really wanted to use a cable stitch for the border, but you know, I really wanted to try to keep it as simple as possible as well. So this is the one that I ended up with in the end. So I will show you my progress on the Afghan. Of course, it's huge now, so it's a little bit hard to show, but last time I recorded a podcast, I still had 2 rows of squares to attach. Ooh, can you hear that? Big thunder. Hopefully my kids aren't going to get scared. I have a few kids that are scared of thunder, but they're downstairs, so hopefully they feel safe down there. They are safe down there. We have a little playroom down there, and that's where they're at. So anyway, I will just go over the last 2 rows of squares that I have added. This one is from Skeiny Dipping. Wicked You Fiber Arts. Molly Klein Design. Artistic Lily. Chelsea Yarns. Dye is Cast Yarns. Nice and Knit. Chromatic Yarns. Gauge Dye Works. Yarn Brewery, Yarn Cafe Creations, and Kim Dyes Yarn. So it's so exciting to have the pieces all pieced together, and I'm really happy with how it's working up so far. So I just cast on on the side here. I kind of wanted it to be, I'm hoping that I can attach the end of the, I'm hoping that I can attach these two ends together in a seamless way. But anyway, I just joined here on the side by working one stitch into the afghan on the side here, and then I cast on another 21 stitches, so I have a total of 22 stitches. And I have the details on the Ravelry page for this project if you are interested in checking it out a little bit more. But as I said, I have done an I-cord along the edge here. And again, the cable stitch is 12 stitches wide. And then I just do a slip knit in the last two stitches when I'm back on this side of the afghan, and then I pick up one more stitch. And so anyway, I meant to show you on that sampler I did, is the trickiest part I think about this process of adding on this border is to pick up the correct number of stitches. So you can see on this side, well, no, and maybe it's not quite as obvious as I thought it was, but on this side, I believe I picked up too many stitches, and it has kind of a bowed effect. You can see there that it kind of bows out. It's not laying flat. So I was more careful when I picked up these stitches to try to get it flat, and I think I did a pretty good job. But I think that's the trickiest part about adding on this border is, every square is different, and so I have to really be careful about where I pick up the stitches so that it lays flat, the border. But anyway, so I started up here and I've worked all along here to the corner, and here's the first corner complete. I'm really happy with how that turned out. I decided to do a cable row on each, right here before I started the corner, and as soon as I finished the corner, then I did another crossing cable row, if that makes sense. Anyway, I really am happy with how that corner turned out. It lays really nicely, I think. And now I'm working along the bottom of the afghan to there so far. So I counted that I have 28 sides to go across for the border. And I have already worked across 8 sides. So I'm, working, it's going along well, and it's a process, but I'm really focused on working on this whenever I have a chance here at home. I obviously can't take this project with me anywhere, but whenever I have a chance here at home, I am working on this project more than any other project. I'm not picking up any other projects at home anyway, so I'm confident I'll be able to get this done in time and in the mail to Lisa in time for the India Untangled Trunk Show. So it's going really well, and I'm really happy with how it's coming along. Let me see if I can just try to give you an idea of how it's looking so far. It's kind of tricky, obviously, but okay, and I'll hold up this section. Hopefully you can see that. I can't see what you can see. I think it's working. So anyway, I am using my own hand-dyed yarn for the border. So that makes 49 indie yarn dyers involved in this collaboration afghan. So that's exciting. And I decided to go with my iron colorway because it just goes with everything. So with all the different colors in this afghan, I thought this would be a nice neutral to tie it all together. And I know that cables show up so well in this colorway as well, so I thought it would be perfect. I'm using my pitter patter base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It is a fingering weight base. And I just took a complete guess on what needles to use for this. I just picked up a US size 3. Boy, it's so dark in here, I can't read this. I have a gauge thing here though. US 3s are 3.25 millimeter needles. And yeah, I just, on the sample that I knit up, I just tried these and I liked how it worked up, so I've just stuck with them. So I don't know what the gauge is, but that doesn't really matter, I don't suppose. So anyway, it's going along well. I am enjoying it thoroughly. I've gotten to the point where I've got the cable pattern memorized. I don't have to look at a pattern anymore. It's also a very, I mentioned that it, looks simple, and it is simple as well. In some of the cable patterns that I tried on the sample, there were, every single right side row was a cabled row where you were cabling, you were switching stitches around to make a cable. And in this pattern, you only do a cable row every 16th row. So it's, super simple, and I don't have to look at the pattern at all, and it's going so well. So anyway, I'm really happy with that, and can't wait to show you more progress as I continue to work on it. All right, the last thing I have to share with you is my shawl kit for this week. So every time that I record a podcast, I try to share 3 skeins of yarn that I think would work well for a shawl or some other type of 3 skein project. Because in my Etsy shop, I sell my hand-dyed yarn, but I do not do regular updates. I just have all of my colorways, which I don't even know how many there are now. I know there's over 70 colorways in my shop that are available at all times on all 9 of my bases. So every time I record a podcast, I just like to share 3 of my colorways that I think work well together for a shawl set or any other kind of project that you would need different colorways for. So here is the set that I picked for this week. And again, it's so dark, it's kind of hard to see that dark color, but I thought those looked really nice together, and fall is definitely approaching around here, and this I thought had kind of a fall flair to it. So the 3 different colorways are Steadfast. This I think is a hard color to describe, but it's kind of a light brick red, I think. It has kind of a pinky undertone, and it also has some brown tones in it as well. This is my Observe colorway. So it's a nice light tan base, and then it is speckled with some deep orange, navy, plum, brown. There's quite a few different colors in there. And this is on my Twinkle Toes base. You might be able to see some of the glitter in there. It has the gold stellina in it. And the last color in this set is my Honor colorway, which is a really beautiful, deep purple plum color. And I thought it picked up the speckles in the Observe color really nicely. Those go really well together. So anyway, here's again the set together. Just to give you an idea of some different colorways that work well together. So yeah, like I mentioned, fall is definitely approaching. I have a section along our garage that is, I just throw all of our gourds and pumpkins over there whenever they are done for the season in the fall. After fall, into winter, I throw all our rotten old things over on the side of the garage, and every year we get these new pumpkins and gourds that grow up. This year I don't see any pumpkins, unfortunately, but we have quite a few gourds that are growing, so it's always so much fun to see what grows over there. So those are looking great. We yesterday just started to spot a few as we were we were going for a drive, and we saw a few different cornfields that were starting to turn, a few bean fields that the colors were starting to turn, and even a few trees that were just showing signs of some color changing in them. So it's super exciting. The weather has definitely cooled off quite a bit lately, which is so wonderful. And yeah, we're just getting ready for harvest. My husband farms and corn and soybeans, so he's getting prepared for harvest as well. It will be a good month probably before we ever start he ever starts harvesting at least a month. But you know, he's getting everything ready for that. So I keep saying we, but I don't do anything with it. I just take care of the kids. I don't do anything with his machinery at all. But anyway, we're getting ready for that. He's getting ready for that. Otherwise, we're doing really well. My daughter started ballet and tap class this week, which is so exciting for her and me. I took dance as a child, and she absolutely loves dancing. And so she was so excited to start that. And yeah, so we're doing really well. Otherwise, I hope you all are doing well as well. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would really appreciate you giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel if you would like as well. Thanks again so much for joining me. I hope you all have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.